Knees and toes.
The shoulders have to do with anything.
Because of what you did to my bold prediction. Yes, I'm taking this too far, but I don't care. We're
The
going.
noise is great for those who are audio only.
What's up, everyone, and welcome into the Buffalo Sports Collective. It is Friday, February 13th, 2026. As always, I am PK alongside my co-host Phil. Episode 413. Remember, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. We might have to revisit if I keep saying Threads and Blue Sky, because I don't think anybody uses those. I only post stuff on there because we still have the account. Remember, don't forget to follow our channel wherever you listen to podcasts. We're everywhere that you can get podcasts except for Netflix. We tried. They said no.
We'll keep working on it.
We're in negotiations. They're playing hardball. They just keep saying no, but we keep saying please, and they just keep saying no. But we'll keep trying. We'll keep trying for everybody out there. Check out our website at buffalosportscollective.com and look for the time breakdowns in the description of the show. It is going to be a Bandits NLL complete episode. I know the Olympics are going on. Rasmus Dahlin had 3 assists for Sweden. They got a win. I just watched Tage Thompson and the U.S. win 5-1 over Latvia. They had 2 goals called back on challenges. I didn't know challenges were still a thing in the Olympics. Blow the stupid challenge system into the universe of stupidness. But Tage Thompson scored over there. It was an absolute filthy goal in front of the net. They don't have him playing the point, or the left wing, I should say. They had him right in front of the net. And our good buddy Jack Eichel passed it to him. Lost it for a second, brought it back to his backhand, and just roofed that sucker. It was a beautiful goal. But Tage and Rasmus were both making their names known across the NHL, and I should say the world, because it is the Olympics. But that is the most hockey talk we'll do on this one.
And
we got
Helenius got the fastest skater for the AHL. Pretty exciting. And he was one of, I think they said 3 teens that were at the AHL All-Star game, so exciting for the Sabres' future that he's real quick.
Yeah, especially because he's going to be taking over when they send Jack Quinn somewhere else. But today we got Bandits versus TBirds preview, both in must-win. Loser probably is not making the playoffs because they'll fall to 3 and 6. Not ideal. And then Week 12 Outlook, but this past week, remember that website I gave you, buffalosportscollective.com? Head there for Phil's article breaking down Bandits' loss to the Wings. It is still relevant because they're still on a losing streak right now. It is still very important. And if you want to give any other articles a read, they are all there all the time. Our interview on Wednesday with Pete Dalladay. We got it going. We had a little issues behind the scenes getting the recording, but massive shout out to Pete. He went the extra mile to get us his track, so we did have a awesome. I actually re-listened to this one. I normally don't listen back to our normal episodes. I do listen back most of the interviews. I listened back to this one because it was so much fun. So it's still relevant. Make sure you listen to that one before you watch Buffalo versus Halifax, even if you watch it on tape delay. Even though I don't think tape delay is a thing anymore. If you start the game late, make sure it's because you were
on demand.
On demand, whatever. If you start it later than 6:30 when the game starts, make sure it's because you were listening to this interview. It was great. Power rankings and week 12 pick 'em. Week 11. It's already week 12, Phil. That came out on Thursday. I did have to bring out the coin twice because the people's picks tied in 2 matchups. So I had to bring out the coin and flip it. And then we got our preview today. So Phil, I know you had a game on Monday's show that we didn't get to go to and experience because we had a long show, but we're going to kick off the show with your game because we want to make sure we squeeze it into this episode. So why not just start with it?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. The Bandits are 3-5. It's a situation we're not used to, especially the 4-game losing streak. Really not used to. Josh Byrne not scoring, the offense not scoring, the defense looking a little rough the last 2 games. Everything is in mild shambles for the Buffalo Bandits. So I decided that we would take the remaining schedule and we're going to have an optimistic rose glasses on kind of view. And then we're going to have a real negative, pessimistic view of it. and then what we think might actually happen. And then based on those findings, we'll kind of play off of what we're going to do later and kind of see like, okay, what if this happens in this optimistic version of alternate reality? Would we trade for this guy, trade for that guy? What would you do? If it's really pessimistic, how do you think the Bandits should handle that situation? And then what we think might actually happen with the Bandits for the rest of the year. So I guess we'll start optimistic. So remaining schedule, just blitz through it. We don't have to go over wins or losses yet, but Halifax, Vancouver, Saskatchewan, Toronto, Colorado, San Diego, Saskatchewan, Vancouver, Rochester, Oshawa. We talked about this before. Not a good remaining schedule for a team that is 3-5, but being as optimistic as we possibly can with a touch of realism. Here we go. Halifax. What do you got? Win or loss? Oh, we got to win. All right. This is going to be tricky to keep track of. All right. So they are 4-5. Vancouver. Is it at Vancouver?
It is in Vancouver.
Pull up their schedule. Okay. At Vancouver, you got a win or a loss, even in optimistic world.
Even in optimistic world, I'm giving them a loss.
Okay, you're at home against the Rush.
This one is being as optimistic as I possibly. They lose.
Okay. All right, they are 4-7, looking real bad. You are at Toronto.
I think they win this one. This is the Saskatchewan versus Toronto game. It's back-to-back days. It's a short trip up to Hamilton because it's the Hamilton Rock. Sorry, had to squeeze that in there. I will give them a win for this one at the moment.
All right. Optimistic at home against Colorado.
They'll split the season series even though they look god-awful. But I think Matt Vince does not want to look bad back-to-back times, even though it wasn't really his fault in Colorado. I'll give them a win.
Are you going out west to the sandy beaches of San Diego?
They're going to soak up some vitamin D and get a big dub on the stage.
All right, you're 7-7 right now. You are going to Saskatchewan.
Loss.
Okay, well, there goes all the positivity you built up. All right, at home against Vancouver.
They haven't beaten Vancouver in the regular season, and I don't know how long. They beat them in the playoffs back-to-back times. Because they're 7-8 and their season is on the line, I'll be optimistic here and give them a win.
All right, at home against Rochester.
I will give them a win as well because they were very close in Rochester.
It's true.
Yes, their offense was broken, but coming off Vancouver's win, I think this is another game where you have to get, and based on history, if I'm being optimistic, I will give them a win.
All right, and then to end it, the team that you don't like right now, you're going to the Oshawa Firewolves.
And we're going to give them a loss, and they don't even have their own first-round pick this coming year. That belongs to Ottawa. So Ottawa is going to send them a thank you card because Buffalo is going to beat them and improve the pick odds.
All right, so you have an optimistic, rose-colored glasses are on. This is depressing. Optimistically, we got a 10-8.
They're in the playoffs. 10-8, you're in the playoffs. Now, here's how I base it. 10-8, you're in the playoffs. Regardless what team you are, 10-8 is getting you in the playoffs. 9-9, I think you have a good chance, but the only way you're going to do that is by getting some tiebreakers because I think there's going to be a couple teams tied at 9-9. How many? I don't know. You have a chance, like all 9-9 teams have a chance to make it just based on who's behind you and all that kind of stuff. But I think 9-9, you can get in, but you would need some help, and Buffalo currently doesn't have any head-to-head. If you finish 8-10, you have like a 5% chance. I think it was Rochester a couple years ago where there was like 124 or 128 different outcomes that could happen, and only 2 resulted in Rochester making it, and they made it. So 8-10, you have a very slim chance, but you still do. Anything worse than 8-10, you ain't making it. But 10-8, I think you're almost guaranteed to make it with this format of unified standings. So I think I would say they made it. I would say at this point, sitting where we are on February 12th, if you were to tell me right now that they finished 10-8 and get into the playoffs, where can I sign up for that? Like,
yeah,
done.
Because you're finishing 7-3 if that's the case.
That's why we said Philly was such a massive, you need to have it, but they didn't get it.
All right, let's
that's my
blitz
most
through
optimistic.
and get negative and depressing with it. Halifax.
See, this is this could get real bad quick. I'm not going to try to be like overly. I'm not going to pick them just to lose every game here.
Right.
But I am picking them to lose to Halifax. It's tough to win in the nest, and you're going against another team that needs to win. So I'll give Halifax the win and Buffalo a loss.
All right, at Vancouver.
Loss.
All right, home against Saskatchewan.
Loss.
All right, at Toronto.
Loss.
Okay. Home against Colorado.
Loss.
Okay, at San Diego.
This is one that I don't think that they can lose. They play very good against San Diego, and I know the last time they faced them, it was 5-3, technically 5-4, even though it was 5-3. Type of game. Is O'Regan net at that point? Because they have that whole situation of when does O'Reg get the opportunity to go into firefighting, where he goes on probation for that. So I'm going to bank on them not having O'Reg in net. I'm going to bank on San Diego still in the roller coaster type season, and I'll give Buffalo a win. Even being pessimistic, I'll give Buffalo the win in San Diego.
All right. You are at the Rush.
Loss.
Okay.
No, this would be home versus the Rush, but still a loss.
We already did home versus the Rush.
You're right. That would be away at the Rush. Yep.
Loss.
Either way, loss.
At home against Vancouver.
Loss.
Okay. At home against Rochester.
Loss.
Oh, jeez. And then at Oshawa.
As pessimistic as I possibly can be, they're not losing to Oshawa, so win.
All right. So optimistic, we are 10-8. Pessimistic, 5-13.
Who would have thought that before the season? Which that like even being pessimistic, and I know we still got realistic coming up. That's realistic at this point. Like it's Thursday at 7:33. They haven't made a move, so they're not making a move to improve this team this week. It's not happening. They're not bringing in a player on Friday and having them play on Saturday. So that opportunity, that window for them to make a trade to bring in some now help to face Halifax in a, like last week was a must win, but Halifax this week is a must. Like if you drop this one, you're not making playoffs. We just saw what happened when you dropped this game, because look how tough your rest of your schedule. Like there's two teams left that are not 500 or better on your schedule, and one of them is Halifax right now. If you lose to that one, you got 1 of 9 left. You ain't making it. Like it's that simple. So it's being like, being pessimistic is also sort of being like, I know it might change a little bit when we're going to this one, but as pessimistic as we are, that seems a lot more realistic than the optimistic I just did. It's, oh God,
yes.
Scary place to be.
All right. So we will venture into what we think the rest of the season will truly look like. I feel like it's really hard to, because I was even thinking about this while you were talking, like how I see the rest of the schedule going, and it's really hard to take optimism out of it and be truly face value realistic. Like it's hard for me not to skew 60-40 on the slightly hopeful optimistic side, because I don't want to know what the pessimistic realistic side of that looks like. But
I think in my head, like I was trying to plan this as I've been going, where it's not like all of them are the same. Like I was trying to do it as best I can. So I think what I'm going to end up here is something nobody's really going to want, but it's something that I really think is going to end up happening.
All right, so hell, you're back to 3-5. I almost said 5-3. That would be much better. Halifax, do you think? I mean, I know we're kind of going over a little bit of the sneak peek of our preview answers, but do you think they can win this one?
I do think they can win this one. I think they have to win this one. I would be floored if they lose 5 straight games. Like, I know we're going to dive into it, but it's less about the losing streak to me. Like, teams go through 4-game losing streaks. That's fine. It's not like they're losing nail biters anymore. Like the last 2 games, they've been outplayed. So it's not like I'm not in panic mode because they lost 4 straight games. 4 straight games, whatever, you still got 10 games left. It's the way they've played in those 4 games. And I know, versus Rochester, they brought it closer, even though that game wasn't very close. The Ottawa game was close, but then you get the doors blown off versus Colorado, and you lost to the worst team in the NLL in Philly. So out of the 3 of the 4 games, it was disgusting. Like,
Right.
you got outplayed the majority of the time. So I just can't see a world, and I didn't see a world where they lose to Philly, but I can't see a world where they drop 5 straight and lose to Halifax, pretty much kissing their season go by. So being realistic, and I'm trying not to be optimistic or pessimistic, I think they beat Halifax here.
Okay. Realistic against Vancouver in Vancouver.
This is where Bandits fans want to cover their ears. Realistic, at this moment, sitting here on February 12th, they're not beating Vancouver. It's a loss.
I would agree. At home against the Rush.
You can't beat Vancouver. There ain't no way you're beating the Rush, so a loss.
I think as much as I want the Bandits to come with a ton of energy, I feel like with how the Rush are playing, I think they're going to want so much redemption in Buffalo, against Buffalo, in front of those fans after the championship. I feel like they're going to be so hyped for that game. At Toronto, I think they can win that.
This one's tough for me. They're usually pretty good against Toronto as of recent, so I'll give them the win here. I think it's a realistic possibility. After the toughest part here is it's back to back, and yes, it's less travel, but Saskatchewan's going to push you around, like you just mentioned. It's going to be real bad for Buffalo versus Saskatchewan the night before. So going to Toronto, I do think realistically they could win that game, though.
All right, then you are home against Colorado.
I don't think that they have a team currently to beat Colorado. So I'm going to give them a loss.
I would agree. At San Diego.
I'm still going to be a realistic fan here. Realistic person that covers his team. I will give them a win.
And this is where
it goes down.
The season ends. At Saskatchewan.
Loss.
Yes. At home against Vancouver.
Still a loss. Like, I feel like that's possible, but if I'm being realistic right now, especially with Vancouver's offense, the way they've been playing, it's a loss.
At home against Rochester. I could maybe see them sneaking that out.
I'll give them a win.
I feel like optimistic.
Yeah.
But
I feel like you could split that season series.
Yeah. And then finally you're at Oshawa again, so it's pretty funny. So optimistic's 10-8, pessimistic 5-13, realistic 8-10.
Yeah, that's about what
So I feel like realistic is in a weird way optimistic because
still 5-3.
Right. And it's really, really difficult to upset any of the teams that we're saying that you're going to lose to. But if you just need to flip one game in there, instead of 8-10, you finish 9-9 because you upset Saskatchewan or Vancouver one time.
You can't
Colorado.
Can't drop both games to Vancouver and Saskatchewan. You have to steal one to get to 9-9, and you have to get all the other ones to go your way.
That's the harder part.
And I guess there is a way where you go 0-4 versus Saskatchewan and Toronto, or Saskatchewan and Vancouver.
You got to beat Colorado,
but you got to beat everybody else then. Yeah. Like that's the thing. You can go 0-4 versus the 2 top teams, but you got to beat Toronto, you got to beat Colorado and Rochester and San Diego. Yeah. You got to go the rest of the way. It's tough. You got to go 6-4 the rest of the way, and you got 4 games.
Paper doesn't sound brutal for a 3-time champion, but with the way they're playing, it's gonna and the schedule. It's not just the way they're playing; it's the schedule. And this is why we talked about that Philly game being so detrimental. Like that's the game that makes the rest of the schedule still scary and still not great, even if you're being realistic. But it would have helped everything a lot. It would have given you just a smidge of wiggle room. Now you have none. Now you have to win every single game that is even slightly winnable, which we already mentioned,
and steal
is Halifax, Toronto, San Diego, Oshawa. And then you have to either upset Colorado, upset Rochester, or, split the series with Vancouver and Saskatchewan. It's just a very, very tough schedule, especially with how good Colorado looks. The other two are 2 of the best in the league. And the other, again, we've talked about it a little bit, but before the season of that, the amount of lacrosse that these guys have played, the amount
Yeah.
of winning they've done,
It's
like
adding up.
it takes a toll on you. And the other thing is, I feel like you start to see a shift in. I'm not saying they're not trying, but you see a shift in the Bandits' drive to win 4 in a row, and the other teams wanting to push the Bandits down more than anything in the world. So
Yeah,
you
they
have
want to
teams like
see them go from we can run this back and get 4 in a row to we're not even going to let you make the playoffs.
right,
Type
and
of
that's
thing.
every single team, every single night. So, and I
The
feel
league
like
and their fan base hate the Buffalo Bandits.
right.
And Bandits fans shouldn't be mad about that. You should love that. You should love being the hated person because that means you've been so stinking good. But
You are
you
the
can't be
Kansas
so
City
mad.
Chiefs.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Just don't be their fans.
Right. But I mean,
yeah.
everyone was thrilled to not see the Chiefs
Yeah.
in the playoffs this year. And that's exactly what the rest of the league is hoping for the Bandits. But especially those 2 teams that you might have to split against, Vancouver, you swept, and Saskatchewan, you just beat in the finals. So those teams, more than anything, want to prove that they are just that much better than you. And those games are going to be extremely difficult.
So I loved Phil's game, and I was trying to incorporate another way to continue to be involved here. And I was kind of hoping that this segment would be irrelevant because they made a move this week, but they didn't. I'm not saying they didn't even try. I'm positive without knowing directly. Chugger was making phone calls. But I went over like the available players and the possible trades that Buffalo could be making, and it's more like realistic ones. It's not being optimistic or pessimistic. It's like legit options that Buffalo has out there on the table. And it's not going to be, oh, go get Lyle. Georgia's not trading Lyle at 6-3. They're going to ride with him, and I would be very, very shocked. Like, I would be floored if he moves at the trade deadline, regardless of his contract next year. Like, I know he's a UFA that can reject the tag next year. There ain't no way Georgia's moving him. And I know Pat Gregoire was mentioning, who would be a perfect player here for the Buffalo Bandits? Shane Jackson. They're not moving Shane Jackson. Like, it's not happening. Available players, though, that I think are realistic, and I went through the UFAs right now that all you got to do is pick up a phone, call them, and see if they want to come to Buffalo. Casey Jackson. These are the lefties right now. I don't think Casey Jackson would come here just because he's more of a West Coast guy, but pick up the phone, give him a call. Holden Catoni. I know that I dropped this idea in a Discord chat and people were saying that might not fit because he likes to carry the ball. And that's when he is his most valuable on a team is when the ball is in his stick. Maybe it might be better if Josh Byrne doesn't have the ball on his stick as much now.
I would agree with that, yeah.
Because, when we were talking about, and this is another guy that I'm going to mention in a minute, Joe Rezateris, he kind of needs the ball on his stick too, but so does Dane. So I don't really see the difference between adding a guy on the left side who needs the ball on his stick to adding a guy who needs the ball on his stick on the right-hand side. To me, there's not much of a difference.
I think adding a guy on the left side that wants the ball would free Josh up a little bit more to run around and go back to focusing on goal scoring and less focus on
setting guys
up. Being the assist man that he's kind of turned into. If somebody else could take that role away from him a little bit on that left side, it would free him up, I think, a little bit more just to focus on scoring, and that's what the Bandits need him to do.
So those are 2 guys on the left-hand side. I think Holden Catoni is more realistic than a Casey Jackson, but I don't even know Catoni's situation right now because I figured he would have signed with somebody. With the righties, Kevin Crowley, do not expect this one because he wants to stay West Coast. I get that. But there's 2 other righties that are more East Coast guys, and one of them is Curtis Knight. And I know these aren't flashy, wonderful names, but they're out there for a reason right now is because they don't have a contract with another team. Curtis Knight played with Rochester last year. That gives them another righty over there that is depth scoring. Or Seth Oakes. I know he didn't play much last year with Georgia, and he was a healthy scratch. I can't remember if he got hurt in warmups when Buffalo faced Georgia 2 years ago. Remember we were like, man, Seth Oakes isn't in the lineup. What the heck is Georgia doing? And I can't remember exactly if he got hurt or if it was a late second pull, but that's another guy out there. So
we said, didn't we find out that he got hurt in warmups?
Yeah, I think that was the case. Like I said, I couldn't exactly remember, but those, like, I think there's 3 realistic options out on the free agent pool that you could just call up and say, hey, do you want to come and try to help us dig out of this hole? And then you're looking at the trade market right now. And again, I'm not going for the Lyle. I'm not going for the Shane Jackson. I'm not going for any of these bigger name guys that might have been on the market, but now their teams are doing really good. Cal Rubish. If Oshawa loses another game and falls to 2-9, they're 2-8 right now, but I know a bunch of people are looking at their schedule and going, hey, they got a shot, which they technically do because they got 4 games versus Philly and Calgary, but he's a UFA next year that can reject the franchise tag. Bringing him in, that could help the back end. You got a Colton Armstrong UFA next year, but it comes back to Halifax, and I got so many Halifax guys on this one. If they lose, they're 3-6, and they got a bunch of guys that are UFAs. Graham Hossack, he can reject the franchise tag. Ethan O'Connor, former Buffalo Bandit, knows the system. He can reject the tag. Johnny Pearson is a UFA next year. And then you're looking at Philly. And Chris Corbeil. Are they going to trade the captain? I can't really imagine that one. But these 2 options to me are realistic. And Liam Patton, he had a very brief stay with Buffalo. Buffalo Joe, which we mentioned multiple times. But I heard Pat Gregoire, shout out to him. He said it on Daily Dive on Monday. A name that I hadn't thought of because his contract, he signed a 2-year deal in Philly this last offseason, but could fit perfectly next to Josh Byrne because Josh Byrne excelled in a system where he had guys that could free him up. Eric Fennell. And he looks healthier this year and is putting the ball in the back of the net. So he's not just a guy that can set picks and get space open for Josh Byrne. He's also very dangerous, and I think he's tied for second in goals for Philly. We just saw him this last weekend in Banditland. I think overall, and I don't want to give Pat Gregoire too much credit here, I think that is the name that fits the best in this system right now and is a realistic option for Buffalo. I don't know if Philly would be willing to part with him because of what he's doing to Brendan O'Neill's game, and it would be the 3rd trade between Buffalo and Philly. But to me, Eric Fennell might be the best option for the Buffalo Bandits as the makeup right now.
He is 4th on Philly right now.
Okay. Oh, yeah, because they changed that up. Yeah, because I think Michael Sowers passed him.
Yeah, it's 11, 12, and 13 between Joe, Sowers, and Fennell. Yep. So they're all back to back to back. Yep. It's not like he's
it's depth scoring that Buffalo currently doesn't have.
Yeah, last year, just for people talking about Catoni, he had 78 points, 29 goals, and 49 assists.
Between
just
two
sitting out
teams.
there, yeah, between Philly and the Desert Dogs would love to have.
And we saw what happened to
team.
Philly once they moved Catoni. They fell apart.
So I do love that option. I do like that he is a ball holder on that side. That really doesn't bother me because I do think it would free Josh up a little bit more. I love Joey Rez on the right side. Patton would be nice. Rubish would be nice.
There's options out there. It's not as bad as I thought it was.
Is just he's another older guy. I don't know how old he is.
They're missing that lockdown defender that Justin Martin was. It's hurting him.
I feel like Hossack would cost so much. And I think that's kind of the next thing I wanted to bring up with trades and everything is, hypothetically, we'll say you lose this game. We'll go both ways. So we'll start off pessimistic again. We'll say you lose this game to Halifax, you're 3-6. Do you think they make any moves? Do you think they still go all in, or do you think it's over?
So let's dive into our sponsor first, because we had a listener question, because we had the segment of Ask the BSC and had the listeners ask questions to us. And one of them is, if you lose, are there any players that you could see them trading like Toronto did last year? So before we answer that question, let's dive into our sponsor of this episode.
And our sponsor is Tap That Tap Room at 363 Delaware Street in Tonawanda, New York. They are Buffalo's first women-owned self-pour bar, featuring 30 consistently rotating taps, offering a wide variety of sours, ciders, seltzers, beers, and malt beverages.
If you've been checking out their Facebook page recently, there are so many events coming up in the next couple months that I'm very excited for. There's a Buffalo Bandits cookie decorating thing coming up, I believe in March. We'll make sure everybody knows what day that is as it's coming up. But there's so many events coming up. Check out their Facebook page. And I know I jumped ahead there, but it just clicked. I remember seeing it on my Facebook feed constantly, just going like, oh, there's another one that's interesting. Oh, that one's interesting. They always have something awesome going on. Friday, 5 to 7 is happy hour at Tap That Tap Room. And in the middle of it, you can stay because 6 to 10 is the gaggle. And it's Birds on the Niagara 2026 and Feminist Bird Club Buffalo. They got a 50-50 raffle. They got food and drinks, and they got a fun birdie game. It's a free event, but if you want to lock in a spot there, you can let them know that you're going. It's going to be a fun time. 6 to 8, the Gaggle. It's right in the middle of happy hour. And then Saturday, 6:30. Remember, they're playing in Halifax, so it's a half an hour early. It's the Bandits watch party. Beer wall discounts all night. TVs are all going to be on the Buffalo Bandits game in a must-win situation, and the sound is on. Again, I say it every episode that I talk about this part. They are the place to go when you can't get to the game because everybody there knows why you're there. It's not like somebody's going to want them to turn on golf. No, it's Bandits all time, all the time. So to find out what else they got coming up, like I mentioned, it's a ton on their Facebook page. Get your calendar. To find out what else they got coming up, check out their Facebook page and find out what's on tap and what's on deck. Check out tapthattaproom.com. Like I said, we were going to do this a few weeks ago, and I completely forgot. And then I remembered, so I made a graphic for it, and we put it out. Ask the BSC. It's going to be out there every Wednesday, and it'll be cut off. It's going to be on our Instagram page, Twitter, everywhere on social media. You can DM us, write in, Instagram stories, whatever. Let us know what questions or thoughts you have coming up, and we'll talk about it on the show. And one of the questions, and you led perfectly into it, if Buffalo loses, are there any players on this current team that they could trade similar to Toronto last year where they could recoup picks by saying, it's not our year, let's trade some veterans, get some pieces, and you see how well that's working for Toronto last year.
Before you go to that, I want to backtrack to what we were talking about before. If they win, so the big thing that you and I were talking about recently was like they were all about them going for 4 straight. We understand why they did it. We are in agreement with it. Vince was able to come back, so you just once he's back, you go for it. There's no denying that. If they win, do you see them just going all in and saying like this is it? Like we got the win. We're in the playoff hunt at this point, and then push all your chips in and go after one of the many names you just mentioned, either free agent or trade.
Yeah, with Matt Vince on the team, with Kyle Buchanan on the team, Paul Dawson, like Steve Perillo's getting older. Nick Weiss is like, I think 33 going on 34. Dane Smith's even going to be 34. Not saying any of those guys are past their prime, but they're on the mountain peak and it's just downhill from here. You don't know what say they don't add and say they keep their picks. Their picks are usually later in the draft. So say even they win this and they sneak into the playoffs and they're drafting 8th.
Yeah,
that's what the 6th or 7th pick.
Yeah, 10 and 8, and then
And I know this draft class, the next couple draft class, are supposed to be very deep. But I've heard that in my entire life across sports, that this is a generational draft. And then 5 years down the line, it's a nothing burger. There's like a handful of teams. And I'm not saying that it's different in the NLL. I'm not saying that it's the same in NLL, whatever. But knowing what you have in-house right now, knowing that you have the veteran pieces that you do, if you have a realistic shot, which I think they do if they add a piece or two, you go for it. Like this could be, and likely is, knock on wood, the last chance that we're going to see a Matt Vince in the NLL. This could be the last season that you see Kyle Buchanan. This is definitely the last season of Ryan Benesh because he said it on WGR this last week. You go for it. Like, sorry for my language, screw the future. Like, I know Dietrich is playing both sides here, but at some point, when you're in a position like this, where if they beat Halifax and they're sitting 4-5, I do not care, and it's not the fan of me, I'm taking off my biased hat. I'm putting on a GM hat. If I beat Halifax here and I have a realistic shot, I have Matt Vince, who's playing great. I have 2 of the top 5 players in the entire league in Josh Byrne and Dane Smith in the league. I have a good back end with Mitch Desnu coming back. I believe in this team. I do not care what 2026-27 looks like. I'm caring about the here and now, and if I can add a piece to this team that can get it over the top and make a run in the playoffs, I'd be criminally negligent to not do it. Like, yeah, I know, nice. It's fun to look at the future and add pieces that can help you down the line when this dynasty is over. But how many times have we seen people on social media? They should put Matt Vince on the bench and see what they have in the backups. They should do this and this and this because you got to worry about the future. And my response was always, screw the future. You have the team to win it now. So if they beat Halifax, sitting 4-5, regardless of what their schedule looks like right now, I think it would be criminal not to add to this when all the talking points were, can you convince Matt Vince, Kyle Buchanan, Paul Dawson to come back? Because you did, and now if you don't make a move to improve this team when you're sitting 4-5 and you need help, I think that's doing a disservice to those guys that you were able to convince to come back for another year.
Yeah, you nailed all of that. So we can move on.
That one felt good. Like I felt
part,
good coming off my lips there. I was like I was playing music. But yeah, let's dive into the question now. If they do lose, what players could they possibly move like Toronto? And I'll preference this like this. I don't think we're ever going to see what Toronto was able to accomplish last year because other teams around the league are going like,
we don't want that to happen again.
You traded Nick Rose and I got Owen Hiltz for it. And I got your first round pick next year.
And
too.
I got Nick Rose.
Yeah. And I got Nick Rose back. So I do not, Jamie Dowick hit it perfectly. Chef's kiss. He nailed it. I know I like to make fun of Jamie Dowick on the show every once in a while, but I thought he nailed it last year with everything that he did. The biggest pieces are Matt Vince, Paul Dawson, and Kyle Buchanan. Are those guys, you're going to need to want to talk to them and see, would you even be willing to go play somewhere else? Because this isn't like the NFL or basketball or hockey. Those guys can just say, screw it, I'm not showing up, and go on the holdout list, and nothing happens. It's not like they get fined. So would they even be willing to go play somewhere else with a chance at a championship? I don't see that, especially with Matt Vince, because we were talking about this in the Discord channel. He wants to stay close to home. Oshawa ain't trading for him. Toronto with Howlchuk playing really well, and Nick Rose is coming back. Rochester, they got Hartley and Hutchison. Would they bring Matt Vince back? Would he even want to go to Rochester? The only team that really is in a position to win that needs goalie help is Vegas, and he's not traveling to Vegas on the West Coast all the time. So maybe Bucky goes to Ottawa. Yeah, Matt Spanger and Ryan Benesh, but how much value do they have across the league? Are you even willing to separate them for like a 4th round pick? Probably not. But it goes down to Mitch the Snoo. That would be the one piece, in my opinion, that they could trade for more assets for the future. But then it still goes down to, it would only be Toronto, and Toronto knows that. Why would Toronto give up anything of big value that is worth giving them Mitch DeSnoo back? So It really comes down to, would they move a Cam Wires? Would they move a Clay Scanlon? Would they move a guy that has their rights with Buffalo for years to come, which I don't see. So Buffalo's in that weird spot where if they win, they should add. But if they lose, do they even have any pieces that could move? Yeah, but it's very tough. It's not like a Toronto situation. It's just not. It's so different. So to answer this person's question, I don't think it'd be like Toronto, but maybe you could move a Mitch DeSnoo. But would they to Toronto? That's the biggest issue.
I could see Bucky going to Ottawa.
I could see that too. It helped Jeff Teat try to get in the playoffs. Yeah.
Yep. Help that team get over the hump, and I don't think he would.
But again, it would come down to, does Bucky want that, or does he want to fill out the rest of his career with Buffalo? So it's so different than Toronto.
Dawson, I could see a team maybe using a veteran. I know even when they played Colorado, they mentioned him and how much they miss him. I could see maybe for Colorado being like a playoff push if they want to add a veteran to
somebody that could play special teams more often. Yeah.
Yep. Already stacked defense that they have, but if they just want to add that final push to get them over the hump, possibly through playoffs, not even just into playoffs, they're a very legitimate team. And then Vince, I do think Rochester would be the only one, only because Hartley's been a little bit up and down so far. And if they think Vince can give them the 1 year of like, hey, this is it, we'll bring him in, he can teach something to Hartley, maybe to settle down a smidgen, and just have someone solid back there and see what this team looks like with a Vince behind them. But like you said, it's not a lot of options. And DeSnoo being the most valuable one is also, like you said, only going most likely to Toronto. So that really doesn't get you much of a value either. And honestly, just I was thinking about this episode and everything that's happened this year, and thinking about trading DeSnoo away after the Bandits just got him.
After everything you did to get him here.
Yeah, I have been begging for this guy to come back since he left. He finally comes back, and he plays, 2 games? 3?
2.5? Because he got hurt in the first quarter of Vegas's game.
Hasn't come back, and then maybe they trade him away, and they don't make playoffs. All I've wanted is DeSnoo to be on this team and be winning. Even for Benesh, I've wanted him back for a while, too, and, again, the season isn't over. I don't think you and I are 100% doom and gloom. I mean, our realistic view is 8-10, but even that,
My
if they
meter's in the
put it
red of danger.
right, I mean, if they put it together, which they can, I like it. I think to both of us, like we see what's going on, but I feel like the team's still there. They're still really good. Like if Byrne finds a way to switch it on, if the
If
secondary
Burns
scoring,
switches it and Desnu comes back, I
right,
think they can get right
like
back into it.
right, and so there are like this team isn't trash. You know, they're still a good team. They just for whatever reason are not putting it together right now. But that could flip and they could go on a run. We've seen this team do it. So it's not like yes, this is definitely they're in trouble for sure. And I think they know that. But if they get this win, I think they have the ability to upset some of these teams that, which is wild to think before the season, none of these games would have been upsets. Now they're really big upsets. But this team can go on that run. So hopefully they at least find a way into playoffs, but it's going to be a very uphill battle.
Yeah, we got a couple more questions that got written in, I should say. How many goals do the Bandits need to score to win this game? I think the magic number is 12. They haven't reached this since Vegas's game. I know Halifax offense, which we'll go over in a minute, has struggled to score, but so did Philly. So I think the magic number to me with the back end shakiness, if you get to 12, I think you beat Halifax.
Yeah, goals against for Halifax has been really, really good, but I mean, they haven't really allowed more than 11 one time.
Yeah.
But they've had 4 11s. So, I mean, they're one, obviously, it's one goal away from 12. So, I think getting to 12 would be where you want to be. And this offense needs to find a way to continue to move forward. So, even though Halifax has been stingy at times, they need to just figure it out.
Last question. Which matchup has your most attention? To me, it goes right to the guy who we've put a ton of pressure on and we've talked a lot about. And to an extent, it's not really his fault, but another extent, it kind of is. It's Josh Byrne and whoever they put on him. Like, is it Tyson Bell? Is it Graham Hossick? Is it Jake Withers? Like, without knowing exactly which hand all those guys play in, it's tough to match this up because I don't have the righty lefty matchups in front of me, which I probably should. But it comes down to Josh Byrne and can he get going? And I guess I can spoil this here. He needs to score in the first quarter. Like I've said it for how many weeks in a row. He's a different player when he scores early. He didn't score it all last week. He's got 3 goals in the last 4 games. And 2 of those 4 games that he scored in were in the fourth quarter in the dying seconds. The other one was in the third quarter when it was already kind of out of reach versus Colorado. So if he scores in the first quarter, I think he's back. Like I do think that Josh Byrne can have a massive game in this one, putting up 4 or 5 goals. He's got it in him. He's done it before. I'm not saying it can't happen again. I'm not saying he's washed. I just think that either he's really snake bitten or he's not fully healthy from what was happening in the offseason in the MSL and the playoffs there with the Minto Cup, or the Man Cup, I think it's the Man Cup. Sorry. Sorry, I don't watch summer ball religiously. My bad. I think it is the Man Cup though. But I saw him earlier in the year, and it was normal Josh Byrne. He got the points, so maybe he picked something up versus Rochester. Like I don't know. Maybe it's just strictly defenses. Rochester found something, and then everybody else just used it. But if Josh Byrne scores in the first quarter, I'm feeling very good about his performance in this game. And then he'll score 1 goal, 1 assist, and they'll lose. And I'll look like an idiot when people listen back to this.
Yeah, I do think watching from the press box last game, he didn't score, but it looked like they were trying to set him up early in the first quarter and even early in the game for a few really quick, like early looks. They looked like they were set plays to be like, hey, we got to get you going. It didn't work, so that's not great, but hopefully they try it again and he finds a way to get going. He did have a few where he tried to cut inside. He still does not look like the Josh Byrne that we know. And I think you and I both agree his talent didn't just randomly evaporate. I think something's going on. Either his confidence is shook, which is very possible, or he's fighting something. But to me, the other thing to watch is just both teams, as far as the matchup goes, their secondary scoring on both sides. I think the Bandits have had really, really spotty secondary scoring where Buchanan will have a good game and no one else will do anything, or Nanakoke and then no one else, and McKay and no one else. And that's the problem, is that as great as it is when those guys have that good game of 4 goals or whatever. McKay just had 3 and 2, I think. And I think Nanakoke, the game before, was 3 and 2.
Yeah.
But last game, Nanakoke had 1 goal, no assists. And that seems to be the way the secondary scoring is going this year, where it's one guy has the game you need him to, but then everybody else just vanishes. Like, you need more players to have 2 goals on someone else put up 4. Like, someone can have that big night, which is great, but the rest of them need to also put in goals and more than just 1. So it'll be interesting to see whose secondary scoring on the team shows up and is a little more consistent, because that could end up being the difference in the game.
Yeah, 2 things before we dive into the quick preview, because, again, we're going longer with this because we went over the preview with Halifax before. Number 1, thank you all for submitting questions and thoughts to us. It'll be back next Wednesday for Buffalo versus Vancouver. Let us know your thoughts. 2, if anybody's watching YouTube and can give me a heads up, when the heck did Mousters come into my office? I didn't hear.
Just see her the other a second ago. I just saw her walk across. So
okay, it was just a second ago. Thank God, because I heard a deep breath and I turned around, freaked out, and I didn't see her there. You probably saw it on the camera. Another reason to go watch YouTube. Scared the living daylights out of me. I did not know there was a dog up. I left the door open because Brooks at the gym, thinking, oh, maybe a dog will come up here. I would just let him. You can't disturb me. Take whatever you want, just not that trophy behind me. Okay, we'll dive into it. Buffalo and Halifax both coming in 3 and 5. Buffalo's 8th in the league in scoring, 11.13. How the mighty have fallen. Halifax is in dead last, 8.88. We were one of the first ones on it saying Halifax offense don't look good, and we said that about a month and a half ago. Buffalo's goals against, 9th in the league, 11.88. Halifax is in 5th at 10. Power play, Buffalo's still in first place, 70%. They've only had 20 opportunities, though. Second place is 55.1 with Saskatchewan. Halifax is down in 11th at 42.9. Power play, very similar, 0.1 difference. Halifax has that 0.1 more. They're 5th at 58.2. Buffalo's 6th, 58.1. And then the shots for, Buffalo's 4th in shots for with 54 a game. And Halifax is down in 14th, dead last, 45.25. And then it's flipped. Again, this favors Buffalo's offense, guys. Buffalo shots against, tied for second with 47 allowed. Halifax allows the 12th most at 52.63. So if there is, it's so weird because they're allowing the 12th most shots, but they're 5th in goals against. Warren Hill has played very, very well.
Yeah. We'll get to him later, but his numbers are insane. He proved a lot of the haters, including, I think, both of us, wrong.
Yeah.
I think most of the league was on him about that, and the season he's having.
Shut everybody up.
I think it's interesting to show that goalies can kind of, not out of nowhere, because he's not a bad goalie. He never was a bad goalie. He's just inconsistent. But for a goalie to turn it on the way that he has, and even other goalies around the league, Shiliano was up and down for a while. Then he had this amazing season. Higgins was, a backup for a little bit. Then he started to put it together, and now he's a good goalie. Like, goalies in the NLL not only stick around the league for a long time, but they seem to be able to come out of nowhere and like really shine in certain situations. But as far as this game goes, it's going to be interesting. One team's on a 4-game losing streak. The other's on a 3-game losing streak. I always love, like you already mentioned, looking at the power play and penalty kill numbers, but Halifax is not really one you want to look at it for because they have a lot of penalties against, and even the penalties for their power play 42, but they also bait a lot at the same time. So it's weird to look at Buffalo's 20 power play opportunities compared to Halifax's 42, and then their 31 penalty kill compared to 55. So pretty wild numbers. I think it's going to be a really competitive game. Both teams are extremely desperate, and both teams are reeling right now. Again, 4-game losing streak, 3-game losing streak. Neither team looks good. It's going to be interesting to see which team actually shows up and wants this victory.
Yeah, and another big reason why this is such a must-win for Buffalo is if you drop this one, Halifax has a head-to-head because they already beat you 9-8 in your own barn in overtime. Buffalo outshot them 54-40. They outfaced off them. Buffalo's 3 for 5 on the power play. So think about that. 3 of their 8 goals were on the special teams. They led 5-2 after 1, 6-4 at half, 7-5 after 3, and then 3 straight by Halifax to take the 8-7 lead with 6:41 to go. Byrne ties at 8-8 with 3:09 to go, and then Peterson first off the draw. That's when faceoffs matter the most. He won in 26 seconds into overtime. Byrne was 3-3-6 on 18 shots. Smith 3-4-7 on 13 shots. But we'll dive into the players to know now. Jameson's having a pretty solid year with 12 points. Jason Knox has stepped up
21.
into a bigger role with Dawson Thied now traded. So Buffalo doesn't have to worry about Dawson Thied, but Jason Knox is like Dawson Thied light. He scored 3 goals the last time we saw him, I believe. Will McLeod, he's the rookie, 4 goals in his debut, but he's been held scoreless the last 3 games. And then Mike Robinson having a very quiet sophomore season. Cole Kirst, not expected to play, still on the hold out list. For the righties, Brendan Bomberry comes over from Georgia in the offseason. They wanted him to play transition, but Thomas Hogarth goes off on the field, hurt, non-contact, should be back some point this season, but if Halifax continues to lose, why would you rush him back? So their offense has really struggled since Hogarth went out, but Peterson and Stotts, they've been struggling to lead this offense. Both of them were over 100 points last year, but both of them are projected on pace right now for under 75 points. Like, this offense has they're ended up being worse than Phillies right now. So I guess you can look at Buffalo's, how do they defend the righty forwards? Like, if you're able to limit what Peterson and Stotts do, you have a good chance at winning. Buffalo held them to 9 goals into overtime last year. Peterson and Stotts went 3 for 18 shooting. You got to limit Knox, McLeod, and Robinson, those 3 to 1 or 2 goals. The backside help needs to be there, and you need playoff Mad Vince, because we haven't asked Mad Vince to be primetime Mad Vince in prior years until playoffs came around. Like, you're going to need Superman to put on his cape early this season. Like, from here on out, Mad Vince has to play playoff Mad Vince for this team to get into the playoffs, and he can do it. We've seen him do it multiple times. We just haven't seen him do it yet this season. So if you can get all that done, you give yourself a very good chance of making the playoffs and beating Halifax. So that's step 1. You got to beat Halifax.
Yeah, and it's not that Vince is playing bad. I don't think. Yeah. Don't hear what we're not saying.
Just playing good.
He's a whole entire different human when playoffs come around, and his numbers skyrocket, and nobody ever scores on him. Pretty much. We need him to be Superman, but he's still playing really good. He still has big saves every single game, and yes, there's obviously some here and there you want back, but every single goalie across the league can say that. So the defense in front of him needs to step up, and that's one of the things I think I'm really watching in this game. Not only what can they do against Peterson and Stotts, but again, this same situation with Philly. Like, Philly going into the game against Buffalo had scored 3 straight games of just 7 goals. And then they go into Buffalo and they put up 13. So I don't know what's going on with this defense. We don't know if Snoo's coming back, right? We don't.
He was listed as out last week. So, but then again, Chugger said a couple weeks ago when in Colorado, he was a week or 2 away. So that's 2 weeks this game. But I don't know. He was listed out. If he was listed as doubtful or questionable, I would be feeling better. It's really hard to go from straight out to back in the lineup, but it's possible.
We'll say he's out. They got Belter back. I thought Belter looked good. I think there was one Belter got beat on, but for the most part, when I saw him out there, I was like, okay, that is a player they desperately needed. He was making some good plays. So you have another week of Belter. Now he's got a game under his belt, and hopefully he can perform even better this game. But Halifax has scored 9, 6, and 7 in their last 3. They've gotten over 10 goals. They've hit double digits twice this entire season. Yeah. So the defense that was playing really well before Colorado, maybe Colorado exposed them, and Philly just kind of followed suit, watched that game tape, said, hey, this is like clearly a issue that they're having of covering down low. They're not getting the backdoor help that they need. Hopefully now that it's more of a pattern with the defense after 2 games, they can look at that, because all the players said, and I would agree with this because it was such a one-off, but they kept talking about the game in Colorado, how they didn't really watch the film on it because it was just a throwaway game. You got crushed, you move on from it. You might have wanted to watch the film because other teams did. And now that they have more tape and Philly seemed to do what Colorado did on offense, hopefully they can kind of see that and be, okay, this is what's going on. Now we need to adjust, and hopefully they can make that adjustment. I trust the coaching staff. I trust the defense to make those adjustments. Halifax is struggling on offense. You need to make them pay and keep them down.
Yeah, 100%. Like I mentioned, you can't give them the head-to-head, because if you lose to Halifax, that's a team that's probably fighting for the ace spot. So are you. We'll switch over to the defense/transition. It's the same characters: Tyson Bell, Graham Hossick, Johnny Pearson, Ryan Terefenko, Jake Withers, so on and so forth. It comes down to, like, for Buffalo, Byrne needs to score in the first quarter. I said it. Smith needs to score 7. That would be great if he scored 7. He needs to score 3. Secondary scoring needs to be relied upon. Clean offense. No quick shots in the shot clock. Like, you need to work the count. Get a good opportunity. No drop passes. You need to earn power play opportunities. Like, that's part of it. Is, yeah, I know there were 2 games where you didn't even get a power play opportunity, but you got to make the refs make some calls. Get to the net, draw some holding, draw some holding the sticks, roughing, whatever it is. You're also part of not getting power play opportunities because you're not getting to those dirty areas. So get to the dirty areas, earn those power plays, and make this team get hurt on the power play, because you have the best power play in the league and they have one of the worst penalty kills. You need to get to 12 goals. Like, I know that person wrote in and asked what the magic number is. Get to 12 goals. Make yourself and the fans feel better about this offense. Is it going to be the same 7 as last week? Because that was the best the offense had looked, and they still only look good for about 10 minutes. And then last is, you need to limit this team's transition opportunities, because a team that is struggling to put the ball in the back of the net, they're looking to score in any situation, in any way. If you're giving them 2 or 3 goals in transition, you're allowing the offense to continue to struggle and give yourself an opportunity to win still. So you need to, they've done a pretty good job of transition. Not as good as last year, but they've done a pretty good job of transition defense this year. But also back checking. Like, these forwards still are not getting the same amount of cost turnovers. How many times have I read it? I'm going to read it again. Josh Byrne not getting any cost turnovers. Dane Smith's down there. Cal Buchanan, so on and so forth. So I think those cost turnovers, Halifax is a team that likes to run. You can expose that by back checking, getting back, and getting those cost turnovers. So I think this is a game where you can cheat a bit, but still know, okay, I know that this guy's going to be running the bench, so I know that I'm going to have backside help back there, so I can take an opportunity here and take a chance to try to get this cause turnover and get the ball back. So I do think if there's a week to try it, it's this week.
Yeah, reverse transition as well needs to be a big part of it. I know they also they scored 2 shorthanded goals, but also allowed 2 shorthanded goals last week. So you got to really clean that up, and that's a big part of transition was those situations. But also, like you just said, Halifax, again, this is frustrating to say that they're mirroring what the Buffalo Bandits are doing, but these 2 teams are in very, very similar situations right now. Their defense and goaltending is a little bit better, but their offense is arguably worse. So kind of, take your leave, whatever you want. But this game just, it needs to be, again, just more of what Buffalo is able to do on offense, what they can get going. And you like you said, with the transition of Halifax, like, Buffalo needs to be able to do the same thing. Like, Buffalo's offense is struggling, not quite as much as Halifax after last game, putting up 11 against the worst team in the league. Yay. But they're still not doing well. So if you can get a transition goal or 1 or 2, Nick Weiss, I know Demood played really, really well, but Nick Weiss on that breakaway, wide open chance. And he's normally very good in those situations. It was a great save. I'm not trying to say, it was a bad situation, but those are ones that the team needs right now, where they're not getting the off. Like, normally that would be a bonus goal where you're padding your lead and making it a little bit easier, where you can take the foot off the gas at the end of the game. Now you need that just to win, and you need to convert on those opportunities when they come to you. So both teams might need to be relying on transition. And again, this game is just very, very similar with 2 teams that are struggling and 2 teams that need to try to flip it around.
Yeah, and Warren Hill is in net, 9.73 goals against, 82 save percentage. Know we're about an hour in, but here comes a clip that I talked to Pete Dalladay about with Warren Hill's consistency. And you mentioned it earlier, how he kind of came on this year. This is kind of the clip, and I almost played it then, but I was like, I'll wait until we talk more about Warren Hill. But it's more about his consistency. And I asked Mackie this in the beginning of the season, and I asked Pete the same thing. Is Warren Hill on the same trajectory as Frank Scigliano? And this is what he had to say.
Yeah, pretty close. Yeah. Like, honestly, like, Warren has just looked real good. The one knock on him maybe in the past was, I think maybe he was guilty of letting in some bombs from way out, and I think he's cut down on that a little bit this year. I haven't seen many like long distance from different area code type of goals go in on Warren. He's just been so fun to watch. Like, honestly, he's like a free goalie clinic some nights with Warren. So yeah, I mean, and those 2 have faced each other a lot. Scigliano and Warren Hill have seen a lot of each other. They've faced off twice already this year, going back into the playoffs last year too. So a good comparison for sure. And they're going to need him. They're going to need him to keep teams to under Under 10 for sure, and maybe even under or 9, the way the offense is kind of going at times this year. So he's more than capable of doing that for sure.
So the consistency with Warren Hill has officially arrived this year, and I know I mentioned it versus Mackey, and that was after the 2-goal performance that he only allowed 2 versus Oshawa, and it's kind of just continued. Like, yeah, the numbers have come back to earth a bit, but still under 10 goals a game and 82 for save percentage. Like, the 82 save percentage means more to me than the goals against, and that's kind of the way it's been. But we're almost an hour in, so we kind of went over the players, what we're looking for in that kind of situation. You and I both took Buffalo in the predictions. The people were split. 50% for Buffalo, 50% for Halifax. I went to the coin. They went with Halifax with the coin. So you and I took Buffalo. Are you hedging your bet, or are you going to continue with Buffalo winning this game?
I think when I was going over this and I was looking at Buffalo, I was like, I feel like I have to choose them just for hope and for the rest of the season. Because if I don't pick them, that's just depressing. Sticking with Buffalo, I mean, again, it happened pretty much the entire time against Philly, where I was just waiting for them to flip the switch, kick over, and be the team that we've seen. You have to do it. You have no choice. You have to flip that switch and be the championship team that you can be. I know you lost pieces. I know there's plenty of things going out there, but this team has the ability to flip that switch and just be that dominant team again, and they need it. So I'm going to go with a 12-10 victory. I'll give you your 12 goals that you want, and then 10 against.
So I had my fingers crossed if you're not watching on YouTube. I was really, with the way you were talking, I was really hoping that we were going to have the same score prediction, because we've done that 3 times, and they're 3-0 every time we have the same score prediction.
You have 12-9?
I have 10. I have 11-9. I have 11-9.
You said they got to get to 12.
I did, but I don't think they can. Like, I'm still banking on them not getting to 12. Like, I think they need to, but I don't think they can. Like, that's the thing. But yeah, Phil and I both predicting and kind of hoping, and
we'll go with the differential being what gets them. We both have them winning by 2.
Sure. We'll go into the milestone minute here. Little hour over. This is the most possible milestones we've had in quite a while, so I'm gonna have to tune up the old talking switch here. Fastest milestone minute. All these possible milestones can be found on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. That's a bad start.
Get it out now.
We post them leading up to each and every game, so if you miss one and you don't want to listen back, you can check for them there. There are 10 total this week, and 3 of them are by Ryan Benesh. I said 3 of 5 last week were Ryan Benesh, and he wasn't even in the lineup, so it was a waste of breath. We'll see if it's a waste of breath this time. Phil, get your stopwatch. Ready? Ryan Benesh is 1 assist away from passing Callum Crawford to 7th place in NLL history, averages 2.71 a game. Ryan Benesh is 5 points away from tying Connor Doyle for 4th place in NLL history, averages 4.69 a game. Ryan Benesh is 5 points away from tying Mike Kersey for 5th place in Buffalo Bandits history. He averages 5.07 a game for his Bandits career. Steve Pearl is 9 loose balls away from 1,500 for his career. He averages 6.11 a game. Cam Wires is 8 loose balls away from 200 for his career. He averages 4.57 a game. Connor Farrell is 1 faceoff win away from 500 for his career. He averages 15.12 a game. If Josh Byrne plays on Saturday, we'll move into a tie in 10th place with Chris White for games played in Buffalo Bandits history. Kyle Buchanan is 4 points away from tying Darius Kilgore for 10th place in Buffalo Bandits history. He averages 3.18 a game. Dane Smith is 1 cost turnover away from tying Kevin Brownell for 3rd place in Buffalo Bandits history. He averages 0.64 a game, and Josh Byrne is 1 cost turnover away from tying David Brock for 10th place in Buffalo Bandits history. He averages 0.47 a game.
You nailed it.
Yeah!
You were about 5 seconds under. Do you think there's actually an interesting question for you? Benesh played a lot in Halifax. Do you think they activate him for this game going back?
Well, they don't have to activate him, but
just put him.
Yes, he's 100%.
Start him.
Yeah, he's got to be 100% playing.
Okay, so you're putting Nielsen back down.
Nielsen would be back down. They're going to go strong lefty again.
I did like. I don't know what your thoughts were on it. We're running pretty long, but Dooley versus Whitty. What were your thoughts? Well, I guess Dooley over Matisse and Whitty. What were your thoughts on his performance versus Matisse and Whitty out there?
I thought he was okay.
I feel like
I think
I didn't notice him in a good way.
Yeah, we've noticed Whitty for bad reason for multiple times.
Sadly,
I think you roll Dooley back out until you proven otherwise. Like he wasn't great, but he wasn't bad. He was just
he didn't hurt you.
Yeah, 100%. And Whitty's been hurting you. So to me, I think you just roll back the same defense and maybe you get Mitch Snew back and then Taylor Dooley goes back down and he doesn't worry about it. You just put Mitch Snew back there. We'll go over the games. There's 7 quick, so we'll do our biggest talking point of each game. Friday, 10:30. It's the only Friday game. 6-2 Colorado versus 4-4 Las Vegas. We all took Colorado, and the people took Colorado at 84%. Phil, what's the top conversation here in Colorado's first of 2 games this weekend?
Yeah, this one's pretty simple to me. I just don't see how Colorado loses this. I just want to see Colorado pretty much continue rolling. I think Vegas is going to struggle against the Colorado offense. I mean, Vegas's goaltending and defense hasn't looked great, and Colorado's goaltending and defense looks amazing. So I think they can limit Vegas's offense, but I don't think Vegas can limit Colorado's offense.
Yeah, I want to see what Vegas's offense looks like versus Colorado's defense, just because of how good Colorado's defense. Colorado's a freaking wagon this year, guys. So
really,
really wrong with them. One of 2 7:00 games on Saturday. This is the one that's starting a half an hour after the Bandits game. 4-4 San Diego versus the 2-8 Oshawa Firewolves. Yeah, I said Firewolves on or Thunder Wolves on the interview, and I'm like, God, there's too many multiple Fire Wolves, Thunderbirds, so on and so forth. There's too many. Desert Dogs.
There are Thunder Wolves as well in Niagara
That'd
County.
Be a cool name. We all took San Diego, and the people took San Diego at a very nice 69%.
For me, this is a prove it game for San Diego.
Yep.
They played well against the Rush last week, but before that, they beat Philly twice. So it's hard to say now that the Bandits lost to them, but we'll see if they can beat up on another bottom team. If they lose this, I have a lot of concerns about San Diego right away, but if they are able to win this and be pretty convincing, I'll feel better about San Diego moving forward.
Buffalo fans are hoping for Oshawa, but for my sanity, so I stop seeing people say Oshawa can make a run. God, San Diego, just end Oshawa's season, please. It also allows them to start shipping pieces off. Same time, different place. 5-5 Ottawa, 4-4 Rochester. We all took Rochester. People took Rochester 74%. But I should have listened to last class before. It sounds like Rylan Hartley's going to be out and suspended for this game. It sounds like they're going to lose the appeal, or he's going to pull his appeal, at least based on Jake Elliott's reporting that he believes. He didn't hear it officially, but he's pretty sure. But yeah, I think that's the biggest story is if Hartley's out and they lose this game, that was a double injury because he played versus Vancouver, got the doors blown off, and then he's going to be missing it versus Ottawa at home in a game where they can't drop below 500. You get Ottawa back to 6-5 over 500. Rochester drops below it, and Buffalo was happy about that, I guess. They don't have the advantage over either one right now with the head-to-head.
But at least with Rochester, you have a chance to get it back.
Yes.
So I think that would be big because Ottawa, you lost, so you don't want that head-to-head. So Rochester, at least you can take it in the head-to-head later. To me, this is 2 teams that are struggling a bit. Ottawa's 1-3 in their last 3, and Rochester's lost 3 straight, and now they don't have Hartley. So it's really just about which team can get back on track. Hartley was already going to be a bit of a question mark for me in this game. Not that he wouldn't play, but he got pulled last game. Like you said, they got the doors blown off him, and he's been streaky at times. Overall, he's still having a good season, but he's very hot and cold in moments. So he was going to be something I was keeping an eye on, but he's going to be possibly on the bench.
Saturday, 8 p.m. This is the game I am going to restart and watch after the Bandits game ends. I wouldn't say the 2 top teams, but 2 of the top 3 teams in the league, because I think Colorado's up there as well. 62 Vancouver versus 8-1 Saskatchewan. We all took Saskatchewan. People took them at 83%. Everybody believes it's Saskatchewan, and I almost went with Vancouver, but I didn't. But I just think that right now, and I know Vancouver's right there with them in the scoring, and Del Bianco had this worst start in 6 years, I think last class said. But Saskatchewan to me is a wagon. And I think I'll sum it up exactly. I'm going to let you say the words because I don't want to steal what you always say about Saskatchewan. I'm going to pick them until they lose.
Oh, yeah. Picking them till they lose. It's just a great game. Just go watch. I think the only reason I would say that they're arguably the top 2 teams because going into the season, they were seen as the top two teams, Colorado is right there with them, but they were more of a surprise. So if you had to rank them, I'd say probably Saskatchewan, Vancouver, then Colorado, just because the other two were a little bit more established and expected to be here. So headed into the season, these were two of the powerhouse teams, and I think it's going to be a really good game to watch. But yeah, Saskatchewan's just, they're a wagon. They are a wagon.
The game I'm going to have to suffer to watch back at a later date. 9 p.m., 2-6 Philly, 1-7 Calgary. We all took Calgary except the people and the coin. Their coin flipped and it landed on Philly. So there's some differences between us and the people's pick. You and I were in sync, same wavelengths. People were a little bit different, but yeah. Go Calgary, go Philly. I don't really care about this one.
There you go. Calgary did have a decent bounce back game last week. I just want them to keep riding forward again. They had a really strong start to the season. Yes, they kept losing those games, but it was against good teams. They looked good. Then they kind of fell off, and they had a little bit of a bounce back last week where they looked better. I think in general for the NLL, we want Calgary to keep winning because we don't want them to finish last because Toronto has their pick. So Calgary, please win. Please win.
Yeah, don't listen to the people and the coin. 9:30 Saturday, 5-3 Toronto, 6-2 Colorado. Colorado's second game of the week. We all took Colorado, but the people took Toronto at 53%. This is another game. This is the last game that the coin and the people pick differently than us.
This game, I'm really interested for Colorado's offense versus Toronto's defense and goaltending.
Halachuk's been playing very well.
What?
Halachuk's been playing very well for Toronto net.
They've still only allowed more than 10 goals once this season. Toronto has. That is really, really good. And Colorado's offense has looked really, really good recently. So I'm excited to see that battle to see who comes out of that one ahead. I know Colorado also has a good defense and goaltending, but Toronto's offense I don't think is as good as Colorado's currently. So I'm more interested to see Colorado's offense. But overall, it could be just a huge defensive showdown of which goaltender and which defense end up a little bit better than the other.
Last one, we get Sunday lacrosse, 8 p.m., 6-3 Georgia. The second game of the weekend for Calgary. We all took Georgia, and this was the biggest pick for the people this week, and 94% went with Georgia. So Phil, last game of the weekend, last game of the 8-game slate for the NLL. What are your thoughts on this one?
It should be a good building game for Georgia. I don't see them dropping this. Calgary's got to play back-to-back days. Georgia does not. I know they got to travel, but Georgia's been really, really good recently. I think it's just going to be a good building game overall for them. I'd like to see their offense continue to move forward. We know what their defense and goaltending can do, but if their offense can continue to surge and gel and continue to just roll on, I think it'll be, overall, it should be a win and should be a good building game for their team.
I agree. Get to 7-3. Oh, George, I didn't think they'd win 5 games this year, and they would be up to 7. Really good.
They're almost at what we realistically think Buffalo can get to.
Yeah, it's terrifying. Well, that wraps up this one. We will be back Monday to break down this game. Good or bad? If it's bad, oh, baby. I know we said that versus Philly, but we might be breaking out the tombstones because their season's probably over. Mitch Sasnu, please be healthy and come back. Josh Byrne, resurrect yourself, man. Bandits need to win this one. We'll be back to preview that one. That's about it. Good luck this weekend. Hopefully all your picks and your bets win.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
We
For everybody
love
that
our
celebrates
listeners.
Valentine's Day, happy Valentine's Day. Brooke and I don't celebrate it, but that does not mean you can't. We just never have. It's just not.
If you want to send us a Valentine, that would be great.
Yeah, send us a Valentine. I'll eat the candy. I'll eat, the giant heart boxes? I'll eat all those.
Yep.
You don't think I could eat all the candy in one sitting here? I'll eat it on Sunday. I'll eat it during the show if you send me candy. You don't think I can do it? I'll prove you wrong, guys. You'll eat all that candy. For however many boxes of candy people send me, I will eat them all on the Monday show. Good RIP to my toilet, maybe. That's a good way to end it. Thank you all for listening to another episode of the Buffalo Sports Collective. Let's see if this plays. Yeah, it did. Thank you to Tap That Tap Room for sponsoring this episode and this podcast. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective and on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. Visit our website at buffalosportscollective.com, where Phil's article can still be found along with all the other ones. Follow our channel wherever this podcast, and make sure you leave us a review on Apple and Spotify. Till next time, good luck, Buffalo.